Now, faith is the substance. I've got substance. Do you have the substance for this business? What they mean is, do you have the money for this business?
Step into the realm of Pastor Chris Oyakhilome, where belief, prosperity, and concealed truths intersect. Pastor Chris Oyakhilome was born on December 7, 1963, in Nigeria's Edo State. Chris Oyakhilome's journey begins far away from the lavish properties and private jets he is famous for today. Being the third of 7 siblings in a dedicated Christian household, young Chris was exposed to religious teachings from a young age. Yet what no one realized was that this reserved boy would soon ascend to guide millions, not only by faith, but also through influence, power, and riches. He enrolled in Edo College in Benin City, a location where he displayed indications of brilliance and charm. However, it was during his time at Ambrose Alley University, where he pursued architecture, that a change started to occur. There, he established Youth for Christ, a community that rapidly gained immense popularity. Students weren't merely there for sermons, they sought what felt like otherworldly encounters. Was it merely faith, or was there something much more enigmatic attracting people? Beneath the sermons lay murmured tales of healing abilities, of visions, of miracles. Some thought he possessed a heavenly talent, while others doubted the source of his expanding power. Was this the emergence of a spiritual leader, or the ascent of a man with loftier goals? One thing was clear: Chris wasn't like other student ministers. His message struck a chord, his aura was captivating, and before long, his name was on everyone's tongue. However, this was merely the start. What drove an ordinary student into the world of international influence? What was truly occurring within those university confines? The enigma only grows. In 1987, a 24-year-old Chris Oyakhilome, fueled by immense ambition and a vision he believed was from God, established Believers Love World Incorporated, now widely recognized as Christ Embassy. It started in Benin City, Nigeria, as a small group of believers. Yet right away there was a sense that things were unique. Individuals weren't merely present, they were irresistibly attracted. Was it his communication, his being, or something much more enigmatic? By the early 1990s, Pastor Chris took a significant step, moving to Lagos, the vibrant commercial center of Nigeria. It was in that very place, within the turmoil and chances of the city, that Christ Embassy genuinely thrived. His sermons were no longer restricted to church buildings, they were transmitted into homes through national television, and eventually through international broadcasts. His healing events evolved into huge spectacles, attracting thousands in attendance and millions online, as accounts of miraculous recoveries proliferated rapidly. However, Pastor Chris went beyond the pulpit. He initiated Rhapsody of Realities, a monthly devotional that evolved into a worldwide powerhouse, translated into numerous languages and distributed in millions. This was not merely ministry, it was marketing brilliance, transforming spiritual publishing into an international venture. As the church grew in the US, UK, Canada, South Africa, and elsewhere, so did the speculation. Beneath the wonders in communications lay hints of intricate business connections, media firms, property investments, and global collaborations. The increase was astonishing, and so were the inquiries. From where was the funding specifically originating? How was one individual able to hold such a strong control over a movement of this magnitude? Was it entirely divine planning, or an expert demonstration of control? To his supporters, he's a messenger. To those who criticize him, an enigma. However, one fact is clear. Pastor Chris wasn't merely ascending. He was constructing an empire shrouded in spirituality. As Christ Embassy gained global recognition, the luxury associated with its mysterious founder also increased. Pastor Chris Oyakhilome's net worth is believed to exceed $50 million, although some reports suggest that the actual amount might be significantly greater, concealed behind various corporate ministries, offshore accounts, and undisclosed partnerships. He doesn't merely reside in luxury, he personifies it. His mansion in Lagos is a stronghold of affluence, speculated gold-coated furnishings, Italian marble imports, and chandeliers that sparkle as if taken from a European palace. Numerous residences in South Africa, London, and the United States further add to the enigma. Who genuinely possesses them? The congregation or the person? In 2012, news broke when it was revealed that Pastor Chris had acquired a Bombardier Challenger jet, an elegant, multi-million-dollar private plane. For his devotees, it represented a sign of heavenly ascent. To detractors, it was a warning sign. After all, how many pastors assert they live for the gospel while soaring 40,000 feet above their flock? Next, we have the wonders. Accounts fill the airwaves of paralyzed individuals walking, sightless eyes seeing, and the deceased supposedly coming back to life. His campaigns are filled with passion, strength, and grandeur. However, skeptics wonder, are these genuine divine occurrences or meticulously staged acts? The storm escalated in 2020 when he openly associated 5G technology with COVID-19. 2017, a remark that captured worldwide attention. Was it foretelling or fear? Beneath the designer suits, luxury jets, and miraculous stages, a more troubling question arises. Is Pastor Chris a spiritual leader with vision, or is he conducting one of the most lucrative acts in contemporary religion? As the empire grows, so does the quietness enveloping the truth. Even the most refined ministries cannot escape the shadows indefinitely. For Pastor Chris Oyakhilome, as his empire ascended, the public's intrigue delved deeper into the fissures below. Everything began to come apart in 2014. His 25-year union with Anita Oyakhilome disintegrated amid a flurry of public scrutiny. The stated reason? Unresolvable conflicts. However, that dull statement couldn't mask the turmoil developing in the background. Rumors of treachery, deceit, and conflicts for influence behind the pulpit spread rapidly. For a man who established his ministry on the holiness of marriage, this was not merely personal, it was a spiritual outrage. However, the excitement didn't end there. In the UK, Christ Embassy's financial activities triggered concerns. In 2016, the UK Charity Commission initiated an official inquiry into the ministry's financial management. At one stage, assets were actually frozen. Contributions intended for kingdom work were abruptly scrutinized. No criminal allegations emerged, but a haze of uncertainty enveloped the church's activities. What made the money trail so difficult to trace? What caused the leadership to remain unsettlingly silent? And even more unsettling, why did numerous insiders choose not to talk, even anonymously? Some started to wonder if Christ Embassy was something beyond just a church. With Pastor Chris allegedly exercising unilateral authority, detractors suggested that it resembled a spiritual corporation, characterized by limited transparency and significant control. Throughout everything, Pastor Chris stayed composed, seemingly invulnerable. He brushed off the rumors, labeling them as diversionary strikes from the foe. Yet for the observing world, that silence conveyed more than words ever might. So, what was truly occurring behind the secretive doors of this billion-dollar spiritual empire? Was it fate ordained by higher powers, or was there a more deliberate scheme lurking openly? Presently, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome is recognized as one of Africa's most intriguing and impactful spiritual leaders. However, when history is recorded, will his legacy be seen as a sacred faith movement, or a masterfully crafted empire founded on strategy, media, and influence? Christ Embassy is more than a church. It serves as a worldwide spiritual force active in over 100 nations. From Lagos to London, from Johannesburg to Dubai, his ministry has pervaded not only religious spheres, but also politics, entertainment, and global commerce. Governors ask for his advice. Billionaires participate in his exclusive gatherings. Leaders pay attention when he talks. But what for? His presence in the media is vast. Love World TV, Love World Plus, and Love World USA transmit his image to millions every day. These are not just sermons. They are psychological performances, spiritual exhibitions, crafted to enthrall and transform. Every healing session, each thoughtfully articulated prophecy, and every opulent set crafted for optimal effect. Next is Rhapsody of Realities, a polished daily devotional available in more than 1,000 languages. That's not merely a devotional, it represents global branding on an unprecedented scale in Christian publishing. However, consider this. Is the purpose here to share the gospel or to establish a presence of influence in each culture? In spite of scandals and murmured critiques, his supporters stay resolute. They mention miraculous cures, angelic encounters, and divine interventions. To them, Pastor Chris is more than a person. He is a heavenly oracle. Yet beneath the brilliance, the wonders, and the wealth, a question remains hidden in the dark. Is Pastor Chris Oyakhilome genuinely selected by divine prophecy, or is he one of the most significant spiritual visionaries of our era, constructing an empire with celestial resources and worldly accuracy? And maybe it's all of it. Despite his worldwide influence and undeniable visibility, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome continues to be shrouded in enigma. His ascent from a college group to a global spiritual empire seems nearly legendary. However, beneath the wonders and communications exists a layer of unresolved inquiries, profound, uneasy questions that no one appears eager to face. How did a man advocating simplicity accumulate such immense riches? Chartered aircraft, multi-million-dollar properties, opulent worldwide gatherings. Meanwhile, the financial activities of Christ Embassy stay concealed from the public eye. How can this influence be sustained without oversight? Who safeguards him, and for what reason? Next, we have his history. What truly occurred during the undocumented early years of his ministry? Those foundational years that no biography appears to describe. Who were his initial supporters? What agreements took place privately to convert a youth fellowship into a global power hub? What is even more confusing is his deliberate quietness. Pastor Chris infrequently gives interviews. He never directly tackles controversies, whether regarding his divorce, his finances, or his detractors. It feels like he abides by a unique code, understood solely by those in the inner circle. His lessons, a compelling blend of prophecy, wealth, and enigma, intertwining biblical truth with something more profound, nearly supernatural. It makes you contemplate. Is Pastor Chris just a talented orator, or is he involved in something more significant, something planned? Behind each sermon, every healing, each televised crusade, the same unsettling question persists. What is Pastor Chris truly constructing? A place of worship? A realm? Or a heritage so intricate we've merely begun to explore it? For when you see beyond the lights and cheers, another thing awaits, concealed, observing. And it's not what you anticipate. From the dusty roads of Edo State to captivating worldwide crowds and filled venues, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome's path is truly cinematic. He created an empire, spiritual, financial, and cultural, that still impacts millions around the world. Yet, even today, with private aircraft, multi-million-dollar estates, and a loyal group of admirers, one question continues to remain. Is Pastor Chris a spiritually appointed leader carrying out a holy mission, or a skilled influencer managing an extravagant dual existence? The dual nature of his life, his extraordinary ministry opposing his contentious decisions, creates a series of inquiries that the world continues to grapple with. What are your thoughts on this? Is Pastor Chris a visionary spiritual leader, or is there more to his story than what appears on the surface? Share your thoughts in the comments. We're eager to hear all theories and opinions. If you found this exploration of mystery, luxury, and power enjoyable, remember to like, subscribe, and enable notifications, as what's coming next will surprise you even further.